Okay, guys, thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in tonight. So just to introduce this session, this is an initiative by JUSOR Initiative, and it's a mental well-being initiative that's focused on connecting minds and creating a platform where we can connect, share, and heal together. So you can tune in every week and for a series of live sessions which are focused on shedding a positive light on mental well-being and overall mental health, and delivered by various psychologists and mental health professionals. And I'm happy to be sharing with you tonight. And so more inspiring than the triumph in the face of mental illness is the courage to tell your story. So the aim is to create an online platform that is dedicated to celebrating the journey of brave individuals who've overcome mental health challenges, and to inspire others to share their own stories. So if you want to find out any more, you can visit JUSOR, its initiatives at www.volunteers.ae. And if you or someone that you know is seeking mental health support or is going through mental challenges, please contact the National Mental Support Line, which is 800-HOPE, which is 800-4673. And they will be able to assist you further. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Maria, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a coach. I am from the UK, and I've been in the UAE for 7 years. And I have my own business as a coach for the last 4 years. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you, spending the next hour sharing with you some of my own thoughts, or the best things I think I could help you with in this next hour about self-love and self-care. So just to give you an idea of who I work with normally, I specialize actually in personal breakthrough coaching. And if you're not familiar with that, that basically is where I'm helping somebody to remove any kind of blocks or limiting beliefs from the past or negative emotions, so that they can have an even freer and have a positive life going forward without any kind of blockages. So my job is to kind of help people who are stuck to move forward. So obviously this subject is something, it's a quite broad subject. So if there's anything specific, then feel free to send any of your messages through during the session, or if you have any questions, we'll definitely answer all the questions at the end. So I won't go unless you are happy that you have all the information that you've got. What I am very conscious of is that there is so many different things. So this topic is quite general, it's quite broad, so it could mean a different thing to everybody. And I hope that it resonates with some of you tonight, and that it can help you to feel a little freer. So the kind of things, the topics that I'll be talking about tonight are the kind of topics that I would talk with my clients about. And from their side, I know that these are things that trouble people for a long time, which is not necessary to have. So my job is to be able to help take those away, so that you can have, that you can carry on your life without having to think about these things, and that you can focus on something else. So thank you for choosing to listen in tonight. And we're going to be talking about self-love and self-care. So what is self-love, first of all, and why do we even need it? I think that why does it even matter? If we're going to do something, like, are there any benefits of us if we're going to change, or if I'm going to hope to change any of your thoughts tonight? First, I have to kind of break it down and kind of see, is there actually any benefits? Maybe there's some benefits of not having self-love or not loving ourselves, because maybe from a psychological point of view, is that most things that we do tend to have a benefit. So sometimes, though, the benefit could have ended already, and that actually now it's the right time, exactly now, to change. So sometimes it's about updating our own beliefs that we have about ourselves, just like almost like a CV, where we would update our jobs over time or in our experience, but we tend to maybe not update ourselves as much, or our thought process, when we're thinking about ourselves and how we might have changed. So sometimes might be working with someone who tells me that this is exactly how I am. I'm always do this, or I always do that. But what they're talking is they're telling me something that they've been telling themselves for 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 years in some cases. So this is maybe the opportunity for you to consider what is your own CV? What are the beliefs that you are holding about yourself? And when would now be a good time to let them go if they're not serving you anymore? So during this session, because I don't know exactly all the audience that's listening, I'm going to try and make sure that I can touch as many different people as I can during the session. So, but just think about it in terms of for you. And if you're good to go and this isn't, you don't need to change anything, then that's great. But this is for anyone who thinks that maybe their old beliefs or the beliefs that they're having about themselves are something that they would like to change, or something that troubles them on a day-to-day basis. I could tell you that everybody needs to have a coach, or everybody should go and see somebody or get help. I actually don't believe that. I think that if you don't think that there's anything wrong, I don't think you should do anything about it. So if something's not bothering you, then there isn't, from my side, I think that you don't need to do something about it. The times when I say that maybe you want to do something or have a look at something is if it's troubling you on a day-to-day basis, or on a regular basis, or in one aspect of your life, maybe within relationships, or with your family, or with work, or with any other aspect, or with health, or with anything like that. So is to really think about, what do I need, or do I need to update anything about myself or the beliefs that I have? So I want to just think, and I want you to think, what are the benefits that we have if you've tuned in now about self-love? So maybe it suggests that there's some part of you that you wish that you had an even better relationship or opinion about yourself where self-love is concerned. Or maybe you're looking for some extra tips on how you can do even more, or give yourself even more self-love. So I want you to think about what benefits might be now or in the past of you not have that belief about yourself. So of us to not love ourselves. And I don't think that there's times in the past where, probably before I became working in this field actually, that maybe I wouldn't have said, if someone said, oh, do you love yourself? It would have felt uncomfortable for me to say, yes, of course I do. Or what part of you do you love? Or is it, do we have problems? Is it that we have problems with our loving ourselves with our head, or with our body, or our mind? What is it, the area that we might be struggling with? And I don't know about for you, so I'm going to say for me, maybe in the past, having that belief was a good reason to not do something. So it was giving me a way out of something, or that I didn't have to try hard at something, or that I could almost say, well, there's no point trying because of this is my belief. So if I have this belief about myself, that actually I don't need to do any work on it. So because there has to be a benefit for us to do it. So sometimes people say to me, no, there's absolutely no benefit. Why would I want to keep this? Why would I want to have this belief about myself? Why would I want to feel bad about myself? Well, sometimes imagine, and I'm sure if you've done any work in this kind of field before, is that, when someone says, is that if you knew that you wouldn't fail at anything, what would you do? This is almost the same thing, is that if you believed that you loved yourself 100%, what would you do? So my job actually is, what I do is I help my clients to remove the barriers between the perceived barriers, because between them and this thing that they supposedly would like to do. And actually sometimes what happens is I remove the barriers for them, and they're still a little bit hesitant to go. So sometimes the problem isn't always the problem. Our brain has a good way of saying, look over here, don't look here, look this direction. So there must have been a benefit at some time. Maybe there isn't any benefit anymore, because as we change and as we grow, then we must be updating, and we're always changing all the time. So there's two things. If you're thinking now about yourself, when you're thinking about self-love, or I don't love myself enough, is it you, as in what people perceive as like their self-esteem, or their self-confidence, or their, you know, is it their mind that they're thinking of, their doubt, that you're doubting yourself, or is it more about self-love, about your body maybe? Because those are two separate things, but they are also the same. So just think about which thing for you, or maybe it's both, maybe it's neither. To share something with you that there's a kind of a common theme of, when we're young, when we're between the ages of like 5 and 7, and if you know anything really about the kind of subconscious, is that almost is that everything that we do, they're called the imprint years, from 0 until 7, which means it's almost like I say, to describe to my clients, that almost is that we're given a box. There's this box that everybody puts something into between those ages, when you're born until you're 7. So your parents, they put in all of their values and their beliefs, their religion. They put in what they can. So all your friends, or all your family's friends, aunts, uncles, grandparents, the school, everybody puts something in the box, and it's basically, it's your box, and it's the box that says, this is going to make the best human being. This is going to make the best grown up, because this is all the ingredients that I think, these are the things that your parents have learned, your school, and whatever your society or the community that you live in thinks is the right thing for you at that time. And then they close the lid. So at 7, it's almost like we take everything in until that point, and then the box is closed. And it's not until sometimes when you actually, when somebody comes to me, or when they're aware of something that they don't actually like, because actually we are recreating patterns that we already learned when we were young. And it doesn't mean something bad happened. Everyone always thinks, oh, it means something bad happened. It doesn't mean anything bad happened. It just means that we picked up some habits or we learned some behaviors which maybe have suited 20 or 30 years ago or 40 years ago, when we were made, when our box was closed. And, you know, the world is different than it was when we were born. And, you know, things are different and things are changing. But it's basically saying, these are all the best ingredients that I can give you to help you to survive in life. And at the time when you decide that, actually, maybe I'm an adult now, actually, these aren't all suiting to me. This is because, you know, this is what you believed back then, or this is what they believed back then, but this is now what I believe. So I say that this process that I take my clients through is almost like looking in the box and just checking to see what's inside the box. And it's not about changing things drastically, because remember, these things are all of your, these are all your values and your beliefs. These are all the things that you hold really important, but it's about looking at the box and tweaking it and changing what's in there a little bit, and just rearranging it maybe, and saying, you know what, this is not fit for purpose anymore. Maybe I needed it back then. Maybe I needed it when I was 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 or 35, or when I was 40, but maybe I don't need it anymore. So our parents and they give us this because we need to learn something from it. But that's very often the very place where this thing about self-love or not loving ourselves can sometimes come from. Because what happens is that when we're between like the ages of 5 and 7, we're deciding what's important in our life. We decide what's called our driving question. So based on our main focus in life. So between 5 and 7, we kind of decide, this is my main focus in life. You might think, come on, that's like too young. But when you're 5 or 7, that's the oldest you've ever been. And also you're experiencing the world. So sometimes you might have brothers and sisters or no friends who say, well, we all have the same parents. Why is she so different? Or why he's so different? We all had the same money. We all had the same education. Why are we so different? Because actually it's more to do with whatever our experience was. And sometimes our siblings are more important actually than our parents at that age. So it's about what we experienced in the world. So when I was 5 or 6 or 7, during that time, how old were my brothers and sisters? How was that? Where did I fit into the pecking order? And that's something that's more important. And everybody has a different driving question. However, there are some common themes, and one of them is most common certainly with my clients, and it's also something that I used to have as well, which was, I'm not good enough. So And you think, where does this come from? Like, how can we just say, you know, I've got low self-esteem? Like, where did it come from? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. There's no reason to have that. But actually, it's because it's based on a question that we asked ourselves, which is at the time, is am I good enough? The question wasn't, the answer wasn't, I'm not good enough, but the question in itself is not phrased in the right way. It's something that only a child would kind of probably ask in a childish way. And those words are not really fitting for now because they introduce lots of doubts. However, this driving question, whatever it is that you've chosen, is also responsible for giving you all the greatest things in your life. So if, for instance, your driving question was, am I good enough? Actually, it's something that you'll recognize as something that's helped you to succeed in and is responsible for all the greatest things in your life so far. All the successes, because actually it's pushing us all the time to the next stage, because it's almost saying, am I good enough? I don't know, let me keep going. But at the same time, you may have felt that I've gone 3 steps forward and 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, that it feels that sometimes it's not always as fast as we want, or that there's sometimes the doubts come in. And obviously, I want to give you as much as I can in this session without, you know, so I'm going to kind of quickly give you a brief understanding of kind of why that happens. So when we say, am I good enough, or the phrasing of it, if you just broke that down into, am I good and enough? Well, first of all, am I? We only ask ourselves, am I? Like, we're the only ones who can answer that question. So actually, it's basically we're saying, I don't know if I am. I'm doubting myself already. So when we use that word, but this phrase that you're not even probably even aware of, because it's almost like I say, like almost in your subconscious, because it's somewhere that's been part of you for so long, that it's just a question that sometimes we answer as no. So am I good enough? And then brings in that feeling of, I don't know if I am. Because actually the phrasing of the question, that's all that you made when you were 5 or 6 or 7 years old. But actually the question was usually in reference to, am I good enough for your love? This is because when we were 5, 6 or 7, a child, especially when they have a sibling come along a couple of years later or a year later or something, is feeling this kind of threat and thinking, hang on a second, I need to make sure that I don't get left. So from a, you know, from a survival point of view, is that I need to make sure that I can find out and make sure that I am still loved, that I am still, I need, like all children, what they want, and children don't know what love is. I mean, even now, love to us all is different for every different person. But back then, what a child needs is just attention. Actually, they want positive attention. They want to make sure that they get fed and they get positive attention. And you might see also some children who also are happy with who have any attention. So sometimes their behavior might be not great because they'll even get the attention through negative attention by being told off. And sometimes when you think, oh, why don't they listen? Why do they keep doing this thing? Perhaps it's because actually they learned back then that the best way for them to do it was to be able to misbehave or to be naughty. So we all learn in different ways, and it's based on our sister or brothers at the time. But you know what? We were 5, 6 or 7 then. We're not that anymore. So we don't need to have the same things. I'm sure all of us know that our parents love us or loved us. If they're not here, if they're not around anymore, that they do love us. So we don't need to ask that question anymore. It's something that actually is, you know, it's not necessary now. So it's almost like doing that. What I say is like doing an iOS update. Is that actually bug fixes? The main thing, like with your phone, the phone still works. But actually what we need to do is we need to update some, we need to just do an iOS. We do need to do like a reboot and say, does this serve me anymore? Why was I thinking like that? Why did I have this belief that I wasn't good enough? When someone tells me, oh, I've got low self-esteem, I think, how? Like what? I know that it's usually just from this, just only from this question, not from anything else. So actually, am I? So basically you're saying I'm doubting myself. Good. Well, we don't even use good anymore. We use good with good for children, or we use it for like good dog. Good dog. We don't really talk about it as an adult. Good is more like average. So actually when you're saying, am I good enough? It's almost as if you're saying, I'm not even sure if I'm average. And enough, the word enough has 2 connotations, which are both, or 2 meanings, which is both usually negative, which is one of them, which is enough, I've had enough. And the other one is enough as in I've just done enough to get through. So if you imagine that you're saying to yourself, every time you say to yourself, am I good enough? Well, your brain is tapping you on your shoulder and the other part of you is saying, you don't even know if you even are average enough to scrape through. And that's what creates the doubt. And it's not actually necessary. So when we think about, first of all, when you take that aside and you think, okay, well, if that's what it's from, maybe I can update it. So what can I update it to now? Well, you can update it to anything that you like, because only you get to decide that. So you have to think to yourself, am I waiting for somebody else to give me permission to be able to love myself? Or am I waiting for somebody else to tell me that they love me or that they think I'm good enough? Because surely if someone who cares about you, who loves you, they're not going to be the ones who are doubting you. It's actually you who's doubting yourself. So when would now be a good time for you to be able to update yourself and think, okay, how would life be different? Don't love yourself fully. Okay, don't go and surprise us all and do that yet. How about if you just allowed yourself to love yourself even 5 or 10% more than you do at the moment? What freedom would that allow? When you say, self-love or, self-love, self-care, self-love, it's like, if we're not going to love ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to love ourselves? How can we expect anyone else to love us if we don't even love ourselves? I mean, it's almost like you've got to do your own marketing for yourself, if you like. You wouldn't go around and say, don't try my product. I don't even use my product. I don't even like it. Don't buy it. No one would buy that. So, and sometimes maybe you have a partner or a friend or somebody else, or maybe it's you, that's always the one that when anyone gives them a compliment, they always end up saying, oh no, I'm not very good at that. I'm rubbish at that. I'm terrible at that. I can't do that. I'm so rubbish. And actually, sometimes it can be annoying because you think, come on, if you think this about you, what must you be thinking about me if you have this so little opinion of yourself? Actually, many of my clients tell me, I'm looking for someone, or I want to find them, the girl or the guy of my dreams, or I'm struggling to make friends and all this. Maybe you want to have a think about how much you're actually marketing yourself and how much you are even liking you. I feel as if, there's probably nobody in the world that doesn't say, you know what, there isn't one thing I could change if I wanted to, or there isn't one thing I would change if I could. Maybe there is something that we could do, but I think that's okay because we're still working and learning and finding our way. And it's okay for us to keep pushing our knowledge or keep looking after our health or whatever it is. So it's okay to keep focusing, but it's not like we're waiting until we get right to the end, to the last day of our life. And then we can start saying, okay, now I'm going to start doing it. The benefit of not loving yourself, or the benefit, I think, is being able to say, I don't hold responsibility. You're basically saying, I'm not responsible for any of the results that you see in front of you. I'm not responsible for any of my thoughts or my actions. And I'm also not responsible for my body, how it looks, what I put inside it. Because if you don't love it, it's almost as if you're opening yourself to kind of criticism that someone could say, you know what, how can you love your body, or how can you love your mind when you do X, Y, Z? Well, how can you not? I don't know, there isn't any benefit. So let's just talk about the body for a minute. Let's put that, so we can put that to one side. So self-love about our body. First of all, it's almost like when someone says, oh, what do you love about your body? And, oh, I don't like anything. And this is, I'm telling you now, this is from client side. And they'll say, oh, I say, what do you like most? Oh, I don't like this. I don't like my legs. I don't like my thighs. I don't like my stomach. I don't like the cellulite. I don't like this. I don't like, and they list off a whole thing. I don't like my chin. I don't like my hair. I don't like my eyes. I don't like, and the list goes on. Okay, there are some things maybe that we can't change, that we're not going to be able to change. But actually, what do you think your body is saying? What do you think your body would say if it had a chance to respond to that? It's all good and well not eating healthily or having whatever we want, and I'm not talking about you or preaching, I'm talking about me also. And then kind of saying, oh God, I hate my legs. I hate my stomach. It's not my stomach's fault. Actually, my body is doing the best it can to support me, even though I might not always do the exercise that I think I should do, or that I don't always eat everything 100% healthy, or that whatever I eat, it might be in excess sometimes. So my body is probably saying to me, so I feel like actually when we have anything with our body, whether it's in our mind, or if you say it's a headache, or it's an ache, or your knees are paining or something, actually maybe you want to listen and think, you know what, this is my body talking to me, telling me something. But your body is like, sometimes when you see something that maybe, you know, and it's not only about weight, by the way, it's not, I'm not talking about that. It can be about, you know, I had a client telling me once recently that she wasn't feeding herself, actually, she wasn't eating. And she's also, she was also self-harming as well. And I said to her, just think for a second, if somebody else was doing those things to you, where would they be? Well, I can tell you that in the UAE, they'd be in jail if someone else was depriving them of food, was not giving them what they need, not giving them enough nourishment, not giving them enough nutrition, and also cutting them, then for sure they would be in jail. And actually, my client for the first time suddenly saw it the other way and was thinking, hang on a second, like, yes, that's right, that's what you're doing to you. And it sounds crazy when you think about it like that. Why would I do that to me? Actually, our bodies are doing the best they can. We don't get a choice. We don't get another body. We just have one body and that's it. And it does its best. So we have to work with it. Okay, it's okay to like push it to its limits sometimes and test to see what it can do or what it's capable of. But when I talk about the body, I'm also talking about the mind as well. That's when we have to think about what kind of thoughts are going through my head, or what kind of thoughts am I allowing into my head? Do I put myself down all the time? What would my body, including my brain, what would they be thinking now? What must it be thinking? She doesn't like me. She's embarrassed about me. She's ashamed of me. But I talk about it, and maybe you talk about your body as if it belongs to somebody else, as if it's somebody else's. Oh no, I hate my legs. But actually, they're your legs. They didn't choose to be like that, however they are. They just are like that. You know, maybe it's just looking at ourselves and thinking in a different way, that actually maybe it's just the perspective that we're looking from, that if we change the perspective slightly, then we might have a different belief about it. Okay, so you want to lose weight, so you want to be more toned, so you want to have different thoughts. Okay, everybody maybe wants to have something that they would like to change, but we can't refuse to accept who we are at this present moment, because what you're saying is that I'm waiting, you know, I'm waiting until I'm absolutely perfect, and then I'm going to be ready to meet somebody, then I'm going to be ready to get married, then I'm going to be ready. I don't want anyone to see me. You know, actually, I don't know if I should say this, but my sister's not listening, so it's okay to say, but she was messaging me last night, and she said she's going to meet up with somebody. She's in the UK, and she's meeting up with somebody that from the past that she hasn't seen for 30 years. She said, I'm just going to wait 2 more weeks, do Slimming World for 2 more weeks, and then I'm going to meet up with him. And it's almost as if everybody is in a state of doing something or working on themselves, and it's okay to work on yourself, and it's okay to accept yourself as you are. Because the minute that you don't either like yourself, or whether that's your thoughts, or whether it's your body, you're actually saying that I'm not good enough. But you are. You're perfectly you. I'm perfectly me. We are always working on ourselves. We're always changing, and we're always updating. Maybe sometimes we need a reminder like today, just to update ourselves and to be a little bit more kinder to ourselves. Actually, we can't just wait for everything. And it's not about being perfect, because maybe you think about the other person that you're going to be with, or that you want to be with, or the friends, or the activity that you want to do. How much are we missing out on because we're waiting for something to change? We're waiting to be even more toned, or we're waiting for this, or we're waiting for that. Actually, when would now be a good time to say, you know what, it's okay for me to love myself? Because how can we sell any product if we don't even like it? If you've watched Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or any of these shows where they're pitching their ideas and stuff, nobody goes in there and says, I want you to invest in me. And they say, what do you think about the product? And they say, oh, actually, I don't even use it. I'd never use it. In fact, I'm quite embarrassed about it. You know, actually, maybe we could give ourselves a little bit more credit. Don't give yourselves full credit just yet, okay? This is a work in progress. How would it look? How would it feel if you had even 5 or 10 or 15% more, just allowed some room for you to actually say, hello, yes, this is my body. Yes, this is my mind. And actually, I'm doing the best I can. You know, I don't know if you already know, and I don't want to tell you if, you know, or to repeat something that maybe you all already know, but just to recap, if you don't know, I don't know if you know what the 2 most powerful words are in the world. There's just 2 words. And you know what those words are? Is I am. Because what follows I am follows you. So whatever you say is what you're going to get. It's a bit like if you've watched Aladdin, where he rubs the lamp and he gets 3 wishes, and whatever he wishes for, he gets. This is the same thing. When we say I am, it's actually you're bringing into the room everything, exactly what it is. You're saying it's present, it's here, and it's now. So maybe you want to have a think about what are the I ams that you normally say to yourself or to your friends about you. I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not, whatever it is. I'm not, I'm so lazy, I'm so tired, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed, I'm so, and you know, do you ever notice that actually when we have the negatives, we say the negatives with a so or always. We don't say that when we're saying the positive things. You know, and if you have got children and you've got children, if you're listening now and you have children, then take care, because what they're hearing is they're going to have the same beliefs that you have. So if this isn't important for you to do for you, regardless of what age your children are, is that this is important for them as well. So what you're saying is actually you're not good enough until you've got to this level, or until you do this, or until I've got this level of education, or until my English is this perfect, or my whatever it is that I'm studying or doing or working on. Actually, let's just have some acceptance as it is. You can still want to change, you can still want to make improvements, nobody's stopping you. But actually, is that dishonoring where you are now? It'd be like going in with a product and saying, any great company, they didn't start out with the product they have today. 30 years ago, they had a prototype. 30 years ago, they had an idea. 30 years ago or 40 years ago, they had something, a simple thing. And then over the years, they developed it. So think about it as your own self-love is just like a prototype that you're experiencing now. And as you develop and learn and grow, that you can change your own perception about how you feel about yourself. And you can develop that 1% at a time, 5% at a time. So when you say I am is like is a direct order to the brain. Whatever you say, and it doesn't matter what language you say it in either. Your brain is not clever enough. Don't assume that your brain is just clever. Imagine giving an iPhone 11 to your grandparents and expecting them to be able to use all of the features on it. They're just using it for the phone, hello, and that's it. It doesn't mean that the phone has not got great abilities, but the user needs to take care of what it is. And that's the same way with the brain. The brain's not like some thing that just says, no, this isn't going to be good for you. Actually, it's just going to provide you evidence to support the belief that you have, whatever the belief is. It's actually like if you have on your phone now Siri or Hello Google, or if you have one of the Alexa products at home, it's the same thing. Imagine that you have a breakup and then you say to Alexa, play romantic music. Well, we all know that's going to be a disaster. How are you going to feel? Alexa doesn't say, you know what? No way, I'm going to play jazz, or I'm going to play some uplifting music, because that's not going to be good for you. So Alexa just plays whatever you ask for. She plays the romantic songs, the love songs, and then you cry and you feel depressed and it feels worse, and it kind of like those same thoughts just recycle round. And that's exactly the same as the brain. If you imagine that your brain, when you say I am, it's like doing a Google search. Whatever you type in Google, it gives you. I mean, very never comes up with any no results. Actually, it comes up with pages and pages and pages of results, whatever you put in there. And it doesn't judge you. It doesn't say, hey, you shouldn't be searching this page. Hey, are you old enough? Google just does whatever you ask. And that's the same way for your brain. What it does is there's millions of experiences that it has, positive and negative, and examples that can support whatever your belief is. So if you want to feel good, then you need to make sure that what you're asking for, what you're bringing into the moment when you're saying I am from your magic lamp is something that's positive. Because if you say I'm so depressed, I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, I'm so everything, that's exactly what your brain says is its job is not going to say no, this isn't going to be helpful for you. It just provides you with the evidence. So it'll find any evidence, and just like Google, it always gives you the recent search results, or it's based on your location. So it'll take whatever the examples are or the evidence that it's got closest to you in your brain, and it'll provide you with those first. And then you'll feel like, aha, see, I told you I was depressed, told you I was sad. I've got all the evidence now. Now, I'm not saying to you, don't go and say, I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I feel good, I'm the best. Because perhaps when you say that, you've never said it before, and your brain there's like a bit of a gap, and maybe it feels in your body like uncomfortable because it doesn't like what's being said. So I don't want you to say something that isn't true for you. But what you can say is different things. So imagine you're going for an interview, for instance, and you say to yourself, you're driving there and you're saying to yourself, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous, I'm never going to get this job, I'm so nervous, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Actually, your body gives you, and it starts making you shake, and it gives you all of the reasons why you should be nervous. It starts saying, yeah, well, there's a lot riding on this. Well, if you don't get it, what are you going to do? Because you're not happy in your job at the moment. Or, yeah, it fills you with all of those doubts. I don't expect, and I wouldn't say either, if I was driving to an interview, I wouldn't be saying, yes, I'm the best, I've got this, because that's not me, and that's not how I would say it. But what you could do is you could break it down, and you could use some sentences which were true for you. You could say, I'm experienced, I'm qualified, I'm ready for a change, I'm as qualified as everybody else, or I'm more qualified than everybody else, or I'm motivated, or I'm passionate, oh, I love this brand, whatever it is, break it down into the parts so that you can say something that feels good, and then your brain can just flood you with anything that supports that, instead of bringing in the negative. So sometimes actually, I do like to feel sad or depressed, and I know when I am, because I just need to, maybe whether that's hormones or who knows what, but actually every so often, sometimes it's good to have a little cry and to feel sorry for myself. So I do that also. But I know when I'm saying it, or I know the thoughts that I'm saying. So sometimes it's okay to allow yourself to do that. I'm not saying never feel those. And it's okay to feel all the negative emotions. It's just, if you want to feel differently, take care of whatever it is that you're saying in the present, that I ams. So if you're saying I'm sad, you can't expect to feel anything different than that. So just think about what you're saying. And on those days, you know those days, the days when everything is not going your way, the days when things seem tougher than usual, or the days when things are hard, and I say this, and I say it, I do say it often actually. I think that before you turn into that point where you say those other things, those other negatives, is that it just says that I'm doing the best that I can. Doing the best that I can to get through this day. I'm doing the best that I can to get through this week, this month, this corona situation. I'm doing the best that I can. And the saying is, do the best you can until you know better, then do better. Well, better isn't the greatest word, but I say is that do the best you can until you know different, and then do different. Maybe you learn a technique, maybe you're learning something right now, maybe you hear something that you can apply to yourself. But actually, that's the bottom for me, because when you say, I'm doing the best that I can, it's like giving yourself a virtual hug. So your body's like saying, yeah, yeah. What it does is it sends to your brain all the things, like the reasons why it says, yeah, you are doing your best because you've had to take a pay cut at work, or you're struggling with this, or you've had a hard day, or that, Actually, all of these things. So your brain basically is like saying to you, yeah, it's okay. I understand. So keep that as like the bridge. So say, I'm doing the best I can in whatever it is. I'm doing the best I can to manage my finances. I'm doing the best that I can to make it through this day at work if you don't like it, or I'm doing the best that I can. We're doing the best that we can with our thoughts. And I know that whatever you're doing right now is you're also doing the best that you can. And I'm not asking anybody to do anything different or to change straight away. All I'm doing is maybe asking you or allowing yourself, or asking you to see if you'll allow yourself to give yourself even just 1% gap to allow there to be a different thought or a different feeling, and see how that feels. Maybe in the past, or maybe when we were growing up, that when somebody says, oh, she loves herself or he loves himself, it's like it's a negative. It's like, oh my God, oh God, he's so cocky, they're so confident, arrogant. Okay, so don't go to 100%. Just stick at 99. That's okay. Stick at 90. It's okay. But it's okay. It's not about that. If someone's telling you something that's negative, it's probably based on their own model of the world. It's something to do with them. But actually, it's like you can't base your beliefs on someone else's belief about you. Only you know every situation that you're in. Only you know what you endure, what you think, what you feel. You're the only person who knows that. So if someone says to you, you're rubbish, you're not good enough, you're a terrible husband, you're a terrible wife, you're a terrible friend, you're a terrible daughter, father, son, whatever. They can't say that. They're actually projecting something onto you, but only you are in all situations. Only you have 100% visibility of all of your beliefs and all of your knowledge, and that's it. So why would we allow somebody else to tell us? If you believe that you've got the best product, why would you allow someone just because they don't like it? You know what, there's 8 billion people in the world. It's okay for everybody to not like everybody else, and it's okay for people to like different things. We can't all like the same thing, so that's okay. What you have to ask is it okay for you to not like you? Aren't you supposed to be like the first one, the number one, the one that says, I am important. Yes, I am worth it. I am worth giving myself a little bit of time, or a little bit of focus, or a little bit of love. Because before we think about what we're asking other people to give us, just think what message that we're sending to them about our own product, about us. Are we sending the message to say, this is a second-rate product, I'm the third choice, I'm the last choice, I'm the last one on the shelf? Or are we saying, you know what, pick me, I'm the number one, I'm the best, because you are the best at being you, because there is only one of you. You're always the best. And it's not about being the best version of you. I don't believe that. I just think that you're always doing the best you can. And you are the best you. There is only one of you. There can't be anybody else. There is only you. So of course you are. You're the only model. You're unique. There's just you. And you might be similar to other people. There might be similarities, but you're just one. This is not, you've not come off a factory line. I don't care how many brothers or sisters you have. You know, I'm one of 5. I don't have, but it doesn't mean we're all the same. We're all very, very different. And we all have different beliefs. I just think though, how much would your life be different? It's almost as if maybe for the last years, it's almost as if you're kind of like in a mental jail almost. But actually, what if I told you that the door's been unlocked the whole time, just waiting for you to go through the doors? It's just a decision. Actually, it's not like, how can I feel any different? Well, you can just decide. We change our mind all the time, and we're actually changing all the time. Our cells are replacing. I think, well, I don't know if it's true that they say every 4 months that we're completely new. Our cells have completely renewed. So if you think about it, you're actually only 4 months old. So if you want to change something, as you're changing now, you might think about that actually you're changing to something else, to say to the updated version of you, like on the phone where it says, you know, bug fixes on the apps. You're still working, but you're not as efficient as you could be. So imagine that you've come out of that jail, and that actually, I'm telling you now, you can walk through the doors, but don't go too far. Don't go too far. Just go a little bit and see how it feels. Take one step at a time and think, okay, how would it be different? how would it be different in my relationships if I was a little bit kinder to myself? Maybe you know someone else who seems certain and sure of themselves, but if you did a balance sheet, that maybe they don't have anything different than you, but they seem to be happy with themselves. So maybe you could think, actually, perhaps I can match them a little bit. And so in terms of self-love, it's our own business, really. It's almost like saying, why would I have a business if I don't love it? So be in the business of loving your own product. If not even for your family, you're asking your family to sell you, if you like, you know, your product to buy into you. But if you don't buy into you, then why should they buy into you? Imagine that, I don't know about you, but my mother, she's amazing. And my father, and when I was growing up, that actually, they were like my idols. I mean, maybe things change over time a little bit when you start to become an adult and you think, hang on a second. But actually, you know, like my mother's, she's amazing. She probably also has her own doubts about herself and everything, but in my eyes, she's amazing. So imagine that you're growing up, and I'm sure everyone who's listening now probably also had the same view about their own parents. Imagine that you have your mother, and that actually your mother doesn't even, if you're thinking that she's this amazing person, but she doesn't even doubt herself. She doubts herself. And you've already put her on this pedestal, and she doesn't think she's good enough. What kind of example is that leaving for everybody else? What example, what do you think your children are thinking if you don't even think? And they automatically, you're like everything to them, because that's what our parents are to us. They're like, they can do everything, they know everything, certainly when we're younger. And so wouldn't it be okay for us just once, or just every so often, that we actually believed ourselves, that we could accept a compliment that someone said, oh yeah, you look really pretty, or you look really nice, or you know, that you did really well today. No, I didn't. It was rubbish. It wasn't good enough. Okay, so what? There can be room for improvement, but just accept the result today and then do something from it differently. We can't just wait until everything is wherever you think perfect is, because you're already perfectly you, and that's it. So today you're perfectly you. You're as smart as you've ever been. You're as knowledgeable as you've ever been. You're as mature as you've ever been. You're probably as wise as you've ever been. And that's it. So if you think about now, about in terms of self-care, well, how do you, if you're going to say, okay, now I'm going to love myself, so how do we do it? Well, self-care, or self-care is taking care of all of you. So whichever part of you, if you said now, okay, I do this, X, Y, Z, these are the areas that actually, that I'm okay. These are the areas that we are focused and we are already on track. I can do this. I don't need to focus in that area. Only you know yourself which areas that you could focus a little bit more of your attention. But self-care looks different for all of us. You know, I'd welcome you to let me know or tell me what you think that self-care is to you. But self-care is just taking time for you and thinking, you know what, in the day, in the week, in the month, what do I do for me? What time do I take for me? What can I do? So some people, self-care might be taking some time away from their children for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, or from a baby. It could be about going out. It could be prioritizing some time to go and do a hobby that you enjoy. It could be just having a bath. It could be anything. But self-care is just making sure that every so often you kind of almost need to do a bit like a self-audit. Maybe there's something in the day that we need to do for ourselves. Maybe it's 15 minutes in the day, or 30 minutes in the day, or 1 hour in the day. And maybe in the week it's 3 hours or 7 hours, or there's a specific time that we spend in the week or in the month. Like the same way we would do if we were taking vacation, is that actually every so often we need to take a vacation. But actually breaking it down and having some kind of mini breaks is also great too. So you have to think about what would represent loving me or caring for me be? Is it giving myself time? Is it giving myself different nutrients? Is it giving myself something that I know that I want to do? Is it giving myself a break? Maybe I'm exercising too much. Maybe I need to give myself a break. Maybe I'm too hard on myself and I need to give myself a mental break. It could be anything. It could be either, depending on whatever it is that you think is something that you need. So only you can decide what the care part of it is, because the self-care bit is something that just suits you based on the priorities for you. So from my side, really, you know, I just hope that this helps you to maybe just to look at things in a different way and to think about yourself in a different way. Even if you think about yourself as your own prototype, as your own product, your own unique, amazing product, one of a kind. And also think about, am I this unfair to my friends? Am I this unfair to my partner? Am I this unfair to my children, or to my parents, or to my family, to my colleagues? When they ask me something, do I give them all the excuses or the reasons under the sun for it to be okay? And for me, I've got to have like the extra triple, double standards, and that I can't actually allow myself to just breathe and say, yes, I did the best that I could. Yeah, and when you know different, you'll do different. So just think, how much am I giving myself a break? How much am I giving myself the same exact time and energy or feedback or praise that I might give to my friends or to my family or to anybody else? So just think about that. And I would be really happy if you have any questions that you want to ask before we, because we've only got, I think, 7 minutes left of the session. So I hope that you got some value from the session, and that it did help in even in the smallest way for you to look at yourself differently, and perhaps in an even more positive way. And please let me know some questions and stuff. So I have got some questions here that have come through, so I'm not sure if, let me just check to go through. So some of the questions that have come through on here. So how do we learn to love ourselves but still not disappoint our parents? Oh gosh, well, disappointing our parents, that's a whole other thing. Oh gosh, that's like definitely another session. I think the first thing is just to tackle first stage one. Remember that other people have got their own things going on. Our parents have their own things. They're working through their own stuff. They're only human. And that's when you realize that actually you become an adult and you see them, that maybe they have got what you might call flaws or things that they could work on. Maybe they aren't as perfect. They don't have all the answers, but they've got all the answers for them, but they don't have all the answers for you. So I would just say is focus first. When you've learned to love yourself even more now, then come back and ask me about the parents and stuff. Okay, so another one. So how do we build up our self-love after you've been through a breakup, partner cheated, so it's so hard to love after something like that? Well, first of all, is that you got to think is that I'm not saying that you can't contribute, that we don't contribute to a relationship or to somebody else's behavior, because I do think our actions do impact other people's behavior as well. I think that there's two things when we break up. So I definitely say that breaking up or heartbreak is like the hardest thing to deal with, or that I find that it's hardest to deal with, because you know, I can help somebody focus on all the things about themselves, the positives, and boosting them up again. But the thing is, when you love somebody, is that actually it's about like growing, that you have like, you know, roots that we've kind of grown together. So you've got all these kind of things, and imagine like chopping it off straight away. It's almost like it's got to hurt. So it's because we love somebody that actually it hurts, and also I think because it hurts is the reason that we know that we're human and that we know that we actually love them. How would we feel if we didn't? For me, heartache is something that almost needs to fade. But what you have to do is, I think it's okay to look at your own behavior, and it's also okay to look at theirs and think, what was my contribution to this? What was their contribution to the breakup, or what was the situation of somebody doing something? Because they have to take responsibility. Everybody has to take responsibility for their own actions. But there are things that we can do in relationships that can help things. And maybe it's thinking about, how much did I focus on myself, as we're talking about self-love? How much did I focus on me, and how much did I prioritize me? Or Did I give them a reason to believe that actually I wasn't worth being exclusive for? But I don't think you should beat yourself up. I think relationships, you know, people come into our lives, and not just relationships with partners, but relationships with friends and colleagues as well. Is that, you know, people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So, you know, some people come in there to give us lessons. Some people give us feedback and think, actually, you know what, maybe, you know, and sometimes people come in and say to me, you know, oh, my last 3 boyfriends are all exactly the same, or my last 3 partners are all exactly the same, you know, and I hate all men. All men are X, Y, Z, you know, whatever. Actually, you know, it's a bit unfair, because let's say there's about 4 billion men in the world, and it's not really fair to just to put all of that onto 4 billion men just because 3 people didn't take care of you, when actually maybe you are the common denominator in those relationships. So perhaps something that we're giving out is what we're getting back. And that's what I talk about with my clients, is that actually when you're going through this kind of process, or kind of a breakthrough process, is that actually you're giving off different vibration and you get a different one back. If you notice that there's a theme, or there's something that you think that you need to work on, then work on it. That's okay. But the love part of it, or the part of the heartache, I think that's just something that has to fade naturally over time. So just take that as a separate thing, not just believing that it's exactly the same as loving ourselves. We can be annoyed with ourselves, and we can be upset with ourselves. We can be disappointed with ourselves. And I am also all of those things sometimes. But you've just got to say, you know what, just the same way is that actually we don't need to live in it forever. We can allow it to come, take the lesson from it, and then just move on, because it's not helpful to scold ourselves for all that time. We can already trying to deal with a heartache or a breakup. So just focus on, you know, focus on whatever the lesson is that you want to take from it for you. Don't focus on their behavior. That belongs to them. And then move on and think, okay, how can I make sure I see any red flags when I'm in another relationship, for instance? Okay, so the next one is, how do you love yourself in the world of social media? Everyone is perfect. You try and not compare, but it's hard. Yes, everyone is perfect, including you. You're perfectly you. That's it. You just absolutely nailed it. There's the answer to the question. How can you not love yourself in the world of social media when you know that actually it's not about everyone is perfect, it's that everyone's putting forward what they want the world to see. Isn't that what we do when we get dressed and we put makeup on, or we go out and we wear a suit, or someone drives the house we live in, the car we drive? We're actually giving off an impression to everybody all the time. So I think we're okay. We all judge everybody, but we don't like anyone to judge us unless they judge us positively. So I just think that you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. I think we all know that what happens on social media, it's not always just what's true, it's just what someone's posted now. It's like not even 1% of what's actually the truth. It's just a snapshot of something. And just take it as that it's a snapshot of something. And just because you don't post your snapshots when everything is great, for me, I'd say that it's more about someone doesn't feel good, but they need to share that in order to feel better about themselves, which is okay as well. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think that everybody needs to do what they need to do in order to feel even better about themselves, because why not? Because, you know, we've got one life, so let's make the most of it and enjoy it while we can. We have another question here, which is, how do we let go of people who do not value us? How do we move forward from that and start loving ourselves? So well, people who don't value us, then you've got to decide what value you're placing on being still in the relationship, or still being friends with them, if you like. Obviously, it's harder if it's your family, because, you know, we don't tend to be able to get away from them sometimes. So, but I think what you need to let go of is not them necessarily, is well, you can let go of them if you can. If they don't value you, then they have no value in your life. So I'd say is it's more about let go of their thing. So what they're putting onto you is their own self-worth, they're projecting their own things onto you. So it's not important as much as how you feel about you. And I think that when you know how much you deserve, or how deserving you are, and you'll think, this is what I deserve in my life, this is what's meant to be there. So you know, you can move forward from that. Someone else who doesn't value you doesn't mean that you don't have to value you. It just means that they don't value you, and that's enough. Okay, and there's one more question here, which is, am I good enough? I know I am. I'm proud of myself, but sometimes it's hard to believe that, especially when love is involved. When you are continuously rejected by those you want the most, how do I stop these feelings of rejection, overwhelm, and make me question my worth? So, first of all, am I good enough? Yes, and you know you are, and you're proud of yourself. That's great. Well, I don't know why you find it hard to believe it. You know, we spend our time watching films and cartoons. We go to the cinema and we cry. We get involved in the film, or we get scared. Is that actually just have a little? Why not take a little bit of also make believe if you can't? You know, if you can't fake, if you can't do it, then how would you look if you were pretending to love yourself? How would you act if you were pretending to love yourself? So, when you're continuously rejected by those who want them, you want the most, well, that's a different thing. Relationship, you know, that's a whole different thing. But there's lots of stuff that maybe you could check out about being needy. So you know, being needy, the less needy, a little bit like magnets, so that kind of repel, if you like. So it's like kind of almost being too needy. So maybe there's something, a whole theme, which is maybe a little bit more focus on yourself, and rather than focusing on what somebody else necessarily wants. And the more you focus on you, maybe you'll find that you might just find that people are kind of drawn to you naturally when you focus on you. So and focus on your strengths and your character and your worth. But I don't think it's about worth. Nobody else gets to choose whether you're worthy or not. Worthy of them. Oh my God, what is it like? It's, you know, we're not dealing with, unless you are dealing with a king or someone, okay? We don't need that, okay? It's not like I'm not worthy enough for you. I'm worthy. It's not about question of worth. Of course you're worth it. You're more than worth it. You know that. You're worth so much more. And for anyone who doesn't recognize the benefit, then for them, that's, you know, that's got to be really their loss and you know, somebody else's gain, really. So I hope that has answered the questions and stuff that you have. And if anyone has anything else, then feel free, if you want to get in touch with me or to ask any questions personally or directly, or if you ever need any help with anything, then feel free. I also do always a complimentary consultation as well, so you can get in touch with me. I think that also we're going to share the links for my website, and also if you want to follow me on Instagram. But one, I don't post all of the time, so don't expect a daily post. And but please, you can feel free to contact me or message me or get in contact with me on there. And I'd be really happy to answer your questions at any time. So I would just want to say again, thank you so much to everybody for tuning in and for giving me your time, because I know that your time is very precious, and also for this opportunity from the JUSOR initiative for giving me this opportunity now to talk to you. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Take care, everybody. Thank you.